Close your eyes now and let your body sink deeper into the surface beneath you, finding a place of perfect comfort and stillness. Take a deep, slow breath in, filling your lungs with cool, calming air, and then release it slowly, letting go of the tension of the day, letting go of the noise, and allowing a gentle silence to wrap around you like a soft, heavy blanket. Tonight, we are going to travel back in time, back to the year 2007. We are entering a world that is usually defined by speed, by the roar of engines and the blur of colors racing at 200 miles per hour. But we are not here for the race. We are here for the quiet moments that happen in the shadows. The stories that unfold in hushed whispers behind closed doors, where the stakes are high, but the atmosphere is thick with secrecy and silence. This is the story of a rivalry, a duel between two giants of the automotive world, the scarlet red of Ferrari and the cool, clinical silver of McLaren. It is a story known as Spygate. But tonight, we will view it not as a scandal, but as a complex tapestry of human ambition, loyalty, and the quiet unraveling of secrets. It is strange to think that in a sport built on precision engineering, where every millimeter is measured by lasers and computers, the greatest storm would be caused by something as simple as paper and the fragile nature of trust. Let us drift first to Italy, to the town of Maranello. Imagine the warm Italian sun bathing the terracotta roofs in a golden light. The air here smells of espresso and pine, and there is a sense of history in the very stones of the streets. This is the heart of Ferrari. Behind the famous factory gates, there is a reverence for the past, a passion that burns slowly and steadily. In the early months of 2007, the factory is humming with quiet activity. The mechanics move like dancers, their red uniforms bright against the clean, grey floors. But amidst this harmony, there is one man who feels out of step. His name is Nigel Stepney. He is a man of immense talent, a mechanic and engineer who has given years of his life to the team. Picture him standing by a window, looking out over the Maranello landscape as the sun begins to set, casting long, stretching shadows across the factory floor. He feels a heaviness in his chest, a sense of being overlooked, of being left behind while others rise. It is a lonely feeling, one that can cloud the judgment and turn a heart toward shadow. He is the head of performance development, a prestigious title, but in the silence of his own mind, he feels isolated. Far away, across the continent, in the verdant, rolling countryside of Surrey, England, lies a very different world. Here sits the McLaren Technology Centre. Imagine a building that looks as if it has landed from the future. It is a sweeping curve of glass and steel, shaped like the symbol of yin and yang, resting beside a perfectly still, man-made lake. The water of the lake reflects the sky, and the building itself seems to float, weightless and serene. Inside, everything is white and grey and silver. It is a cathedral of technology. The air is cool and filtered. There is no dust here, no clutter. It is a place of absolute order. Walking these pristine corridors is a man named Mike Coughlin. He is the chief designer for McLaren. He is a man of intellect, a man who understands the flow of air over a car's body, who understands the language of mathematics and physics. Like his counterpart in Italy, he too is searching for an edge, for that elusive fraction of a second that separates victory from defeat. These two men, Stepney in the warm, historic heart of Italy, and Coughlin in the cool, futuristic halls of England, are friends. They have worked together in the past, in the days when the world seemed smaller, and now, in the quiet lull between seasons, they begin to talk. Imagine the sound of a phone ringing in an empty office. A low, rhythmic trill. Voices speaking in low tones. Sharing frustrations. Sharing dreams of what could be. They speak of moving to other teams, of building something new together. But then, the conversation shifts. It moves from their own futures to the secrets held within the walls of their factories. It is around April of that year, when the spring flowers are blooming, that a package changes hands. It is not a digital transfer, not a stream of code sent over the internet. It is physical. It is heavy. 780 pages of documents. Imagine the weight of that stack of paper, the smell of the ink, the texture of the pages under your fingertips. These are not just drawings. They are the soul of the Ferrari car. They contain the secrets of its balance, its weight distribution, its braking system, and the precise chemical mixture of the gas used to inflate the tires. It is a treasure trove of information, handed over in the quiet intimacy of a meeting near the Barcelona airport, while the rest of the world rushed by, oblivious. Stepney hands the documents to Coughlin, a simple gesture, one hand extending to another. And in that moment, the balance of the Formula One world shifts, though no one yet hears the sound. Coughlin takes the documents back to England. He does not take them to the high-tech glass sanctuary of the McLaren Technology Center. Instead, he takes them to his home, a quiet, private space. Imagine him sitting there late at night, a single lamp casting a pool of warm light on his desk. He turns the pages, studying the diagrams, the numbers, the intimate details of his rival's creation. The house is silent, save for the ticking of a clock and the rustle of paper. We often think of secrets as dark and heavy burdens, but in the beginning, they can feel like power. They can feel like a key that opens a forbidden door. But secrets have a way of needing to be shared, or at least preserved. And this is where the story takes a turn toward the mundane, toward the simple everyday actions that can topple empires. Mike Coughlin needs digital copies of these documents. He wants to save them, to burn them onto disks. But 780 pages is a mountain of paper to scan one by one on a home scanner. It would take hours, days even. And so, on a regular weekday, when the sky is a soft, overcast gray typical of England, his wife Trudy gathers the stack of papers. She places them into a box, or perhaps a bag, feeling the density of the secrets they contain. She drives to a small, unassuming shop near Woking, a photocopy shop. Picture the shop. It is small, quiet, smelling of toner and warm paper. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. A clerk stands behind the counter, likely bored, watching the slow passage of time. Trudy walks in. She places the heavy stack of documents on the counter. She asks for them to be scanned to 2 disks. The clerk nods. It is a routine job. The machine begins its rhythmic work. Whir, click, flash, whir, click, flash. A hypnotic, repetitive sound. Page after page of highly confidential technical data, marked with the famous prancing horse logo of Ferrari, slides across the glass plate of the copier. The light flashes, capturing the secrets, illuminating the diagrams of brake balances and fuel systems. The clerk watches the pages feed through, and as he watches, he notices the logos. He sees the stamps that say confidential. He sees the name Ferrari. He pauses. He looks at the customer, standing quietly, waiting for the job to be done. He looks back at the papers. It seems strange. Why would someone in Woking, the home of McLaren, be copying the entire technical blueprint of a Ferrari? But he says nothing in that moment. He finishes the job. He hands over the discs. He takes the payment. Trudy leaves the shop, stepping back out into the cool English air, the bell on the door chiming softly behind her. She believes the task is done, that the information is safe, but the seed of doubt has been planted. The clerk, a simple observer in this grand game, feels a tug of curiosity, a sense that something is not quite right in the patterns of the universe. Meanwhile, back in the world of the racetracks, another thread of this tapestry is beginning to pull loose. We travel now to the glamour of Monaco, the jewel of the Formula One calendar. The harbor is filled with yachts bobbing gently on the azure water. The streets are lined with barriers. The air is electric with anticipation. It is May. The cars are in their garages. The mechanics are working with focused intensity. But in the Ferrari garage, there is a disturbance, a confusion. Before the race, a mechanic discovers a mysterious white powder found near the fuel inlet of the Ferrari cars. It is a fine, dusty substance. It looks out of place in the spotless environment of the garage. Panic is a strong word, but there is a ripple of unease. They analyze the powder. It is not fuel residue. It is not dust from the track. It is something foreign, something introduced. Suspicion falls inward. The team looks at each other. Who had access? Who was near the cars? The camaraderie of the garage usually so tight and unbreakable, begins to fray at the edges. The shadow of Nigel Stepney looms large. He was there. He had the access. And the team knows he is unhappy. The pieces are drifting slowly together, like leaves on a stream, moving toward a convergence. The white powder in Monaco, the heavy stack of paper in England, the clerk in the copy shop with a nagging feeling in his mind. The world of Formula One continues to turn. The engines roar on Sundays. The crowds cheer. The champagne is sprayed. But underneath it all, in the quiet offices and the silent homes, the fuse has been lit. As we rest here, contemplating the quiet beginning of this storm, we can appreciate the stillness of the moment before the discovery. The secrets are still safe. For now. The discs are in a drawer. The powder is being analyzed in a lab. The main players are sleeping, unaware that the ground beneath them is about to shift. Let this image of suspended time stay with you. The quiet shop, the sun setting over Maranello, the glass walls of Woking reflecting the moon. Everything is still. Everything is waiting. There is a certain peace in knowing that even the biggest events start with the smallest, quietest moments. A conversation, a piece of paper, a decision made in the stillness of the night. We will leave them there for now, suspended in the calm before the revelation, as we drift deeper into relaxation, ready to uncover the next chapter in the gentle embrace of sleep. And so we gently awaken from that suspended moment, moving from the stillness of the night into the slow, rhythmic hum of a seemingly ordinary day in England. It is June, and the air in Woking carries that specific freshness of early summer, a mix of damp earth and blooming greenery. In a small, unassuming shop, a place where paper is fed into machines and ink is pressed onto white sheets, the silence is broken only by the repetitive, hypnotic sound of a photocopier. Whir, click, slide. Whir, click, slide. It is a sound we all know, a sound of routine, of bureaucracy, of the mundane. But here, in this quiet shop, the pages sliding into the tray are not ordinary. They are dense with lines, with numbers, with the architectural secrets of a machine designed to conquer the world. A clerk, perhaps bored, perhaps just looking for a distraction from the rhythm of the work, glances down. The eye catches a logo, not the familiar swoosh of the local team, but a prancing horse. A symbol of Italy, here, deep in the heart of the British countryside. It is an anomaly, like finding a seashell in a forest. The mind pauses. The curiosity is piqued, not with a rush of adrenaline, but with a slow, dawning realization that something here does not fit the pattern. It is fascinating how the course of history often turns not on the roar of an engine, but on the quiet observation of a single person doing their daily work. The clerk makes a decision. A quiet communication is sent. A message travels, invisibly, electronically, crossing the English Channel, crossing the Alps, finding its way to the warm, sun-drenched offices of Maranello. And just like that, the dam begins to crack. In Italy, the atmosphere shifts. It is not an explosion, but a deepening of the shadows. The suspicion regarding the white powder found near the fuel tanks days earlier now connects with this new, strange report from England. The pieces of the puzzle, previously scattered and shapeless, begin to drift together, magnetizing, forming a picture that no one wants to see. The authorities are notified. And here, we can visualize the slow, methodical process of the law. There are no sirens wailing in the night, only the quiet rustling of search warrants, the polite knocks on heavy wooden doors. The investigation moves to the home of Mike Coughlin, the McLaren chief designer. Imagine the stillness of a house holding a secret, the dust motes dancing in the afternoon light. When the investigators arrive, they do not find a few scraps of paper. They find a library of forbidden knowledge. 780 pages. Let that number settle in your mind. 780. It is a physical weight, a stack of paper inches thick. Technical drawings, test reports, setup sheets, the very DNA of the Ferrari car, resting quietly in a private home in England. The sheer volume of it creates a heavy silence in the room. It is no longer a rumor. It is material. It is real. While this discovery is being catalogued, quietly, carefully, the Formula One circus continues its global migration. The teams pack their crates, the drivers board their jets. They move to France, to Britain, to Germany. The surface of the water remains calm. The cars gleam under the floodlights. But deep beneath, the currents are churning. We find ourselves now in Hungary. It is August. The heat is oppressive, a shimmering haze rising from the tarmac of the Hungaroring. The air is thick, heavy with humidity and the scent of rubber. In the McLaren motorhome, the air conditioning hums, battling the summer heat. But the temperature inside the team is rising for a different reason. Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, two masters of their craft, two men striving for the same singular peak. The tension between them has been building, layer upon layer, race after race, like the slow accumulation of static electricity before a storm. It is Saturday, qualifying, the most focused, intense hour of the weekend. But let us slow this moment down. Let us strip away the noise of the crowd and focus on the waiting. The pit lane is a canyon of heat. The cars sit idling. The drivers are encased in their helmets, wrapped in fireproof layers, isolated in their own worlds. Alonso is in the box. Hamilton is waiting behind. The team signals. Wait. The seconds tick by. 1, 2, 3. The mechanic holds the lollipop sign. The engine temperature rises. The tires hold their heat. Alonso does not move. He sits there, a statue in a carbon fiber shell. Behind him, Hamilton waits. The clock for the qualifying session is running down, slipping away like sand through an hourglass. It is a moment of profound stillness in the center of high-speed chaos. The world watches, confused. Why is the car not moving? The silence in the cockpit is deafening. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. It is a lifetime in this sport. Finally, the car pulls away. But the damage to the fragile trust within the team is done. The silence of the pit lane is replaced by the roar of the track, but the echo of that wait, that deliberate pause, reverberates into the evening. That night, the hotel rooms of Budapest are quiet, but filled with restless thoughts. The agitation of the day settles into a heavy resolve. The next morning, the sun rises over the Danube, casting long, golden reflections on the water. But in the paddock, the mood is dark. A meeting takes place, a conversation between Fernando Alonso and his team principal, Ron Dennis. It happens in the hushed tones of a private office, the door closed against the noise of the outside world. Words are exchanged, frustrations vented, and then the lever is pulled. A threat is made. It is spoken softly, but it carries the weight of a collapsing building. Alonso mentions emails. He mentions exchanges of information. He suggests that the secrets found in the English house were not just sitting in a drawer, but that they were discussed, that the drivers knew, that the test driver knew. The threat hangs in the air, suspended, like smoke that refuses to clear. If he is not given priority, if he is not treated as the number one, the emails will be revealed. Ron Dennis, a man of immense control, a man who built an empire on precision and order, stands in the silence of that threat. He looks into the abyss. There comes a moment in every great unfolding where a choice must be made between protection and truth. A moment where the burden of the secret becomes heavier than the consequences of the revelation. Dennis leaves the room. The corridor is long and quiet. He walks with the weight of the world on his shoulders. He picks up a phone. The dial tone hums, a lonely sound. He dials the number of Max Mosley, the president of the FIA, the governing body of the sport. Imagine the feeling of the handset in his grip, the texture of the plastic, the decision forming in his mind. He chooses to call. He chooses to confess the existence of the threat before it can be used against him. "Max," he says, and the story spills out. The call ends. The receiver is placed back in its cradle. A click. Silence returns to the room. But the world has changed. The fuse that was lit back in the spring, that burned quietly through the months of summer, through the photocopy shop, through the white powder, through the stacks of paper, has now reached the dynamite. The private struggle is over. The public trial is about to begin. As we linger here, in the aftermath of that phone call, we can feel the shift in the atmosphere. The sky seems to darken, gathering clouds of gray and charcoal. The carefree days of racing, of pure sport, are dissolving. The focus shifts from the racetracks, from the smell of fuel and the cheer of the fans, to the cold, sterile environments of courtrooms and council chambers. The FIA summons the World Motorsport Council. The letters are typed. The dates are set. The legal teams begin to assemble, gathering in boardrooms with polished mahogany tables and thick carpets that muffle their footsteps. They prepare their defenses. They organize their evidence. The emails, the text messages, the phone records. They are all being collated, sorted, analyzed. The digital ghosts of conversations past are being summoned to testify. Let us rest in this moment of anticipation. The players are weary. The season is heavy. The summer is fading into autumn, and the leaves are beginning to turn, just as the fortunes of the teams are about to turn. The world waits for the gavel to fall. The stillness is no longer peaceful. It is heavy, charged, waiting for the final judgment. We drift, floating on this current of history, watching the ripples spread wider and wider, ready to witness the conclusion of this grand, complex tale. In the final chapter that awaits us, the heavy stillness of anticipation gives way, slowly, to the gray, diffused light of a Paris morning. It is September now. The heat of the summer has broken, replaced by the crisp, cool air of early autumn. We find ourselves in the heart of the city, at the Place de la Concorde. The cobblestones are damp with the morning dew, glistening under the pale sky. Here stands the headquarters of the FIA, a building of stone and history, solid, immovable, watching over the world of motorsport with a silent, stoic gaze. Inside, away from the hum of the city traffic, away from the tourists and the drifting leaves, the atmosphere is hushed. It is a library of tension. The World Motorsport Council has gathered. The room is large, adorned with the trappings of authority, polished wood that reflects the soft lighting, heavy curtains that hold back the day. The air is cool and still, conditioned to a perfect, sterile temperature. The key players enter, not in racing suits of bright red or silver, but in dark, tailored suits. They move quietly. There is the rustle of fabric, the soft click of briefcases opening, the shuffling of papers. These are the sounds of judgment. Ron Dennis is there, carrying the weight of his team, the weight of a legacy built over decades. The Ferrari representatives are there, solemn, watching. The proceedings begin, not with a bang, but with a steady, methodical flow of words. The story we have followed, the story of the dossier, the white powder, the secret meetings, is laid out on the table. But there is something new here, something that shifts the air in the room. New evidence has emerged, drifting up from the digital depths like bubbles rising to the surface of a deep pond. It is revealed that the knowledge had spread further than previously thought. The digital ghosts testify. Emails, text messages, exchanges between the drivers themselves. The realization settles over the room like a heavy blanket. The information about the red cars, the brake balances, the tire gases. It had not just stayed in the hands of one engineer. It had flowed, whispered through the invisible networks of the team, discussed in the quiet moments between races. It is a moment of profound realization that secrets once shared are like water poured onto dry earth. They seep, they spread, they cannot be gathered back up. The defense speaks, the prosecution speaks, but the words seem to float in the air, heavy and slow. The outcome feels inevitable now. The gathered council retires to deliberate. The waiting returns. In the hallways, men stare out of windows at the Parisian streets below, watching the world go on, watching the people walking, unaware of the seismic shift happening behind these walls. And then, the return. The council takes their seats. The silence is absolute. The verdict is read. It is a judgment of unprecedented weight, a sentence that echoes through the history of sport. McLaren is stripped of all their constructor points for the 2007 season. Every victory, every podium achieved by the machine itself, is erased from the record books. Gone, vanished into the ether. And then, the fine. $100 million. The words hang in the air. A number so vast it becomes abstract, almost difficult to comprehend. It is a penalty designed to resonate, to leave a mark that will never fade. The gavel falls. The sound is sharp, final, closing the book on the legal proceedings. The room exhales. The tension breaks, leaving only a sense of exhaustion and a strange, hollow peace. The ripples of this judgment spread out from Paris, crossing oceans and borders. But as they spread, the intensity begins to fade. The shock turns to acceptance. The autumn deepens. The leaves fall from the trees, covering the ground in blankets of gold and rust. The racing season, battered and bruised by the storm of politics, begins its final descent. We drift forward in time, moving away from the courtrooms, back to the asphalt. The season must end. The championship must be decided. We find ourselves in Brazil, at Interlagos. The air is humid, thick with the promise of rain. The track winds its way through the hills, a ribbon of gray amidst the vibrant green. It is the final race. The tension of the scandal has transformed into the pure, focused tension of sport. The cars line up. The engines sing their familiar song, a harmonious, powerful drone that vibrates in the chest. And as the lights go out, the rain begins to fall. It washes over the track, a cleansing rain, scrubbing away the dust, the anger, the complexity of the year. The cars dance in the spray, leaving trails of mist behind them. And through the mist, a red car emerges. Kimi Räikkönen, the Iceman. He drives with a cool detachment, unaffected by the storms that raged in the boardrooms. He drives simply to be the fastest. As the checkered flag waves, weaving through the humid air, Ferrari takes the victory. By a single point, a margin as thin as a whisper, Raikkonen wins the World Championship. It feels like a closing of the circle. The team that was wronged finds its redemption on the track. The balance is restored. The scales settle. The engines are cut. The cheers of the crowd fade into the night. The garages are packed away. The tools placed into their cases. The cars covered with soft sheets. Sleeping giants resting after a long, weary battle. The lights of the circuit are turned off, one by one, until only the moonlight illuminates the empty track. And what of the others? The men who started this tale? Nigel Stepney, Mike Coughlin. They fade from our view. They step out of the spotlight and into the shadows of ordinary life. Their part in the story is done. The anger they held, the ambitions they chased, have all dissipated like the heat from the tires. Time moves on. It flows like a slow, steady river, smoothing the rough edges of memory. 2007 becomes a date in the history books. The scandal becomes a story told by elders to the new generation, a fable of rivalry and secrets. The emotions that felt so sharp, so urgent, soften into nostalgia. The years pass. New cars are built. New drivers take the wheel. The sport evolves, growing, changing, moving ever forward. But the lessons remain, quiet whispers in the wind. Now, let us pull back even further. Imagine the world of racing as a small, spinning carousel in the vastness of the night. The noise is gone. The speed is gone. There is only the memory of motion, the drama of the Spygate scandal, the hundreds of millions of dollars, the stolen documents, the secret meetings. They are all just dust motes dancing in a beam of light, settling slowly to the floor. Everything returns to stillness. The boardrooms are empty. The emails are archived in deep digital slumber. The cars are in museums, silent and beautiful. Feel the calm of this conclusion. The story is complete. There are no more secrets to uncover, no more judgments to await. The final page has been turned, and the book is closed. Rest in this sense of completion. The history is written. The past is at peace. And you, floating on the gentle current of this narrative, are free to let go. The track is empty. The night is quiet. The stars wheel slowly overhead, watching, waiting, shining their pale, peaceful light on a world at rest. Everything is still. Everything is calm. The story is over.